like squeezing sausage from its lining. My phalanges are being milked like a Holstein's udder. A two-fisted, finger-wrapped lotion slog traverses my pedal zone from heel to toe. Is there anything more freeing? Tongue-like fingers dart between my toes, working the stress from my body, millimeter by mile, until the drool on my chin causes me to flicker. Wait. It must be a dream. You know, half asleep, not wanting to wake yourself for fear the encounter will end. I open one eye and look down at my feet. Sure enough, a white hairy head moving under the covers. It had to be my dog, Cecil. Part of me doesn't want him to stop. Just close my eyes and drift on back to sleep. But the image of Cecil licking my feet burdens the dream of a young Asian girl hard at work. I half-heartedly yell for him to stop, but he ignores me. I gently pull my feet upward to remove the temptation, but my legs won't move. Opening both eyes, I let my senses clear and try to regain muscle coordination with full effort. I want to pull my knees up to my chest, but they feel like concrete. In my brain they are moving, but the sheet remains static. Cecil licks incessantly with more fervor, like he knows the gravy train is about to end. Cecil, quit! The licking stops as his head emerges from beneath the sheet. I want to sit up, but my body feels too heavy to lift. I've read about people experiencing temporary paralysis during dream states, with lingering effects as long as 30 minutes. The article states to remain calm until 100% of the feeling returns. I close my eyes and try to relax. White sand, palm trees, the hint of ocean breeze. She says, I am Koso. I want you relax. I make you feel real good. I start at toe. Oil bring very strong healing in foot. Then I feel it. Slight at first, then stronger and heavier. It's the dog's hot breath making me uncomfortable. His tongue begins to graze my toes again. Cecil! Enough! My eyes shoot down. I'm having trouble focusing. Squinting hard, I can make out a white patch of fur bobbing and moving, addressing my feet like an ear of corn. Cecil! The licking stops abruptly. He stares up at me, eyes the color of robin's eggs, almost translucent. But Cecil's eyes are brown. My heart starts pounding through my body cavity. Breathing becomes shallow and impaired. My esophagus narrows, and as the pressure in my throat ushers in blackness, white noise floods my ears and pounds the silence into submission. My pulsing eyes are spooned into a potato ricer and strained through the head of a pin. Peering down a peephole cylinder, my grit-fashioned eyes ooze through the tunnel toward the light. And suddenly, clarity. It's the old woman from Unit 205. She gobbles something I can't understand and jabs my big toe with what feels like a kebab skewer. I screech. She reaches for something on the bed and rushes it to her mouth. By the sound, I surmise it's her dentures. She spouts off, "It's my day, and you better keep your pie hole shut, or I'll pay a visit to your trapdoor and tear out those staples holding your entrails." She brandishes a Mountain Dew bottle as a warning and spits tobacco juice into it. Nothing like an enema to stop a pissy tongue. My mind folds back into itself like a taffy winder. I remember how happy I was getting accepted into the Terrace, a great new housing property for those 55 and older, chic and up to date, with amenities and location, shopping, doctors, hospital, all within a mile. When I brought the app into the office, I was warned there was a year's waiting list, but I still wanted to meet the manager and introduce myself. Lynn was about 35 and upbeat. I was impressed that they had hired a younger woman dealing with the old folks, as they can be cranky and cantankerous. Her apricot sweater reached just above her navel, and the tightness of it pressed the jujubes out of her dollops. Jet black designer jeans restricted her movement, causing her to tiptoe as she ambulated. When she closed the door for a private chat, it got my attention. She leans into me and whispers, "This has only happened once in 15 years. Then she hesitates, as if someone might be listening. She looks toward the AC vent and waits before continuing. As she draws closer, I can smell the dank, earthy scotch on her breath. "There's an immediate opening if you're interested." Feeling a little stunned, I just sit there. The silence grows as she stares deep into my ear hole. 100 things run through my mind. She gently rests her hand on my knee and gives it a slight squeeze. "So, what do you think?" I didn't ask why, I didn't care. I thought God had answered my prayers. As I am signing the paper, she says, "Watch out for the ladies. Quite a few have found their soulmates here." I just smile and nod as she begins reading the rules of conduct. She offers me a tour, but I decline. However, the room location is of interest to me, so she shows me on a map where my apartment was located. The official walkthrough is not until next week, but I get her permission to check out the property on my own. Along the way, I notice that people are huddled in small groups throughout the property. They are plenty nosy, but not very friendly. I can feel their eyes upon me as I walk past them, but it's the way they stare, like I'm a naked circus clown passing out balloons to the gallery. Arriving to the second floor, my unit is next to the billiard room and across from the gaming area. Wow, I think, I'm at the hub and close to the elevators. I feel guilty knowing how long the waiting list is. My unit is 209, and it faces north, away from the afternoon sun, looking out over a beautiful courtyard with community gardens. My move date is still a week away, and I have plenty to do before my dog Cecil and I can move in. As I exit the building, a teenage girl about 6 feet tall comes up and asks, "What unit are you in?" She looks more like 25, with an IQ and speech of a 12-year-old. I stare at her, not knowing how much to reveal. After a moment of watching her pick the scab on her forehead, she blurts out, "It's 209. A person died in there." She giggles and skips away. Before I could make sense of it, an old woman wearing tight spandex over her cake-rolled body says, "Don't pay her any attention. She's retarded." I gasped a little at her terminology. I tried my best to act normal, but inside I am thinking, so that's why I got the unit so quickly? She says, "I'm Arlene. I live in 310. I've been here since it opened in 2005. The man in 209 didn't die. He got married and moved down the hall with his new bride in 204. His name's Abel." Feeling some relief, I opened up a little and asked how she knew I was moving into 209. I just signed the papers a half hour ago. "People don't have much else to do here but gossip and notice change. Don't worry, you'll get used to it." Before I could reply, she turned and left me standing without a word. Walking around the perimeter, I noticed a vacant field next to the property that looks like a wildlife reserve. Cecil will like that, I think. As I round the corner, I can see Arlene has pinned the large teenage girl in the corner of an alcove. She is sticking her finger in the girl's mouth. As I get closer, they disband and enter the building. That is no way to treat a special needs person. For a moment, I thought of telling the manager, but I don't want to rock the boat before I even move in. I walk back towards my car by way of the courtyard. I look at my second-floor window to see if the sun was hitting it at this time of day. And to my surprise, there was a man in the window staring back at me. It brings to mind Alfred Hitchcock's Rear Window. It must be a maintenance guy, I thought. But as I scan the building, I can see the silhouettes of many people with blinds pulled back and curious eyes watching. I grumble angrily. Don't they have anything better to do? Then a hint of pity comes over me. They're just lonely. I raise my hand to wave, and in a most peculiar fashion, one by one, they drop the blinds or close the window with force, like a chain of dominoes clapping each other as they fall into the next, until the eerie silence leaves the courtyard empty. As I walk back to my car, my steps echo with a most hollow sound. Coming across the parking lot to greet me is the manager in her buxom apricot sweater, waving a receipt for my deposit. "Hey, you forgot this." "Thanks. I was just looking around the property." "So, what do you think?" "It's really great. I feel like an intruder. Some of the people were checking me out pretty hard." "Why? What did they say?" "Nothing. You've got to realize, I deal with this all the time. They're like children with adult access. Think second grade. Everything is me and mine. It can be very territorial. But remember, nothing is theirs, it's the company's." As she talks, I notice a clacking sound that was not present in the office, kind of like the sound you hear from an older person wearing loosely fitting dentures. "You have just as much right to be here as anybody else, but they will try to make you feel otherwise. And because you have a dog, you can expect tenants to tell you that your dog cannot pee on their grass. When that happens, let me know and I will take care of it. 90% of this job is arbitrating squabbles between warring factions. Overall, most of them are pretty reasonable." As she walks away, I'm struck by the personality change in her demeanor. It's like she's a different person. The way she walks with full strides, no longer hobbled by the tight designer jeans. Her wig looks more ginger-toned in the sunlight, almost auburn.
The church was filled with loved ones as the service they began.